Hello and welcome to the final race of the RENNSPORT Community League Season 1. We are in episode 5 and yeah, we are back at Hockenheim for this event. But unlike Hockenheim the first time we went here in episode 1, I'm not here with Remco because I'm here today with Tim Ireland again.
Hello. Well, welcome. Welcome to the community event for the final, I believe it is, isn't it, Lino?
Indeed. As said, it's the final race of Season 1, and talking about Season 1, there will be a Season 2. We will talk about it during the race later on. And even though the champion might already be crowned, because there are no people in this race that can get close to him points-wise, even though he goes a bit wide here, there's still a lot to play for in this championship. We have a few contenders to move up even into the podium positions. And that might be quite interesting later on. But even without all that, we have a few very good drivers in this race. And some promising racing to be held here. We had a very interesting race this Tuesday as well. Here at Hockenheim, even though it was a bit longer, 1 hour race. Hosted by RWL, which is hosted by Tim Ireland, coincidentally. Do you want to talk us through on that race?
Yeah, it was the first time, the first race of the new series of RENNSPORT Weekly Leagues, so I bumped the format up to an hour with a pit stop. It was an interesting race. It brought out some interesting points about the tyres and the pit stops, and we had a good turnout. It was a fun time, even if you did have to listen to me waffling on for an hour. But thank you for turning up, Lino. You also helped.
That's my job, I guess. But yeah, we see the cars on track right now. Remco Major, Tim Schroeder, Dominik Ladl leading 3 cars. Tim Schroeder and Remco Major are both able to get into the podium positions. Tim Schroeder more easily than Remco Major because the points deficit between the two of them is more than 100 points. But apart from that, they are both looking very good here, both very fast, as we already know of both of them. Don't think Tim Schroeder will also struggle as much as in the RWL because of the shorter race duration of only 30 minutes.
Yeah, they've definitely got no excuse for not having practiced this week. They spent a long time lapping it on Tuesday. They should be on their game for Hockenheim and GT3s by now.
Remco Major, the first one to put a valid lap time in. It's 38.5. That's already really good. Dominik Ladler 1.5 tenths behind. We have a couple of new names as well on the grid. One guy we already know is Joao Loreto in the BMW. He's looking to have a strong finish to the season. But we have Alisar and Even Slower, who are new to the RENNSPORT Community League. As well as Wouter van Sandijk. I'm not sure. I think he raced in a lower split at one of the events, but I'm not too sure about it.
Yeah, I'm a bit less familiar with those names than the more kind of regulars we have here, but yeah, they seem to be setting some fairly decent times, and they're closely bunched together, which is always good. Hopefully it'll make some interesting mid-pack racing.
Tim Schroeder only half a tenth down the sector, and of course this was only banker lap by Remco Major, even though it was already very good. But 1/10 up in the second sector. And we know that Tim Schroeder is fast. We also know that Remco Major is very fast, but Tim Schroeder really upped his pace. Race by race, he's getting much faster. Got really into a groove with the BMW as well.
Yeah, and he's got a purple sector in Sector 2 as well, so he's definitely winding it up as the lap goes on.
Let's see, out of the final turn. Is enough for P2. Less than a tenth behind Remco Major, who didn't improve on the last lap.
Yeah, he's going to be kicking himself a bit about that last sector, but he's got plenty of time to improve. Got another 9 minutes left in qualifying yet to go. I'm sure they'll all be getting faster and faster as the time goes on.
Indeed, we can expect lap times to drop. Van Sandijk slower inside, also with lap times, even though not as close to the front three, but Sandijk only 2.5 seconds behind.
It looks like even slower and Alizar are a bit more closer on pace than... I wonder if Wuta might be a bit in no man's land during the race. But we'll see.
I'm also a bit curious about Loreto, because he's like sometimes very good in pace, and he definitely is also getting more familiar with everything. To see where he plays could be some good results for him. If we take a look at the current standings, Loreto is sitting in 9th on 166 points. In front of him there's Nüninghoff on 169 points, Shigani on 184 points, and Lassa on 226 points, who are all not here today, unfortunately. But those would be 3 positions that would bump him up to P6 in the standings. In front of that, that's currently Remco Mayer on 310, Tim Schroeder on 417.
It's the good thing with things like this with the league, where just turning up and racing, you don't have to be the fastest racer, but as long as you participate in every round, you get a surprisingly decent result out of it.
Yeah,
the way
indeed.
the points are spread definitely rewards people for being consistent and reliable.
Consistency is pretty much the most important thing here. I mean, there's this typical consistency is key and stuff, but it's not only for a race, but for this championship, it's important to just bag consistent points. And that's what Ladla is basically doing. He's attending every race. He doesn't win every race, of course, but he finishes very good in every single one. I think the first one, the opening race, was won by Shigani with Ladla in second, if I remember that correctly. Since then, Ladla has won a few rounds, but Tim Schroeder is currently on pole position, by the way. He won, I think, the round at Monza, if I remember that correctly. Big slide there for Mayor, not having a good sector 2 anyway, so...
No, he's not going to be happy about being half a second down. You know, he's going to be pushing.
Oh, he definitely is. Even though, to his credit, we talked with him before the race, he is a bit exhausted today. He may not be on his best performance today, so let's cut him some slack here. No further improvement for Dominik Ladler here.
And of course, it's the Nürburgring 24 weekend, so we're all a bit distracted.
And if you happen to go to the 24-hour Nürburgring race, RENNSPORT actually has a container there with some rigs, so if you want to try out RENNSPORT or have some other experience with it, or with the VRS equipment, which is also very good, make sure to head over there to the booth. More info on where you can find them on the social media accounts, so make sure to check them out tomorrow. Set your lap times.
If you go and do a lap, I think you get the AMG livery, don't you?
I think so, yeah, indeed.
And I did see a post on our Instagram where they'd been writing some beta codes down in a few places around the track. So if you're sneaky and keep an eye on the socials, you might be able to nab yourself a beta key.
Meanwhile, Ladler not on a good, but also not on a bad lap. It's like kind of middle. The first sector was very good, 1/10 down on Tim Schroeder, which is very good. Second sector just missed half a second, so probably, I guess, losing them in the hairpin, not getting the power down as he wished to. Might still be an improvement there. Not quite. 1/10 to his PB. And indeed, even slower is a very good racing name.
Well, Even slower seems to have gone grey on the timing board. I don't know.
It's a bit
Has he
odd.
disconnected?
It's also not available in the selection menu. As Tim Schroeder put it into the pits, I don't think he will put in another lap time, so we have 4 minutes left to go. But he's also breaking into the 138s. If I can just quickly check.
Remco's on a purple first sector at the minute.
Let's keep an eye on that. He's now approaching the second sector line. Plus 6/10 though.
He's definitely pushing that car. You can see him running very wide there. I don't know what you think of the mid-engine cars in RENNSPORT, but I find they very much don't like being pushed. I tend to drive the front-engine BMW, which maybe it's me being comfortable with it, but you can kind of overdrive that okay. Whereas the mid-engine cars, if you start to push it too hard, you get both understeer and like in corner understeer and then out of corner oversteer.
It very much depends on what type of driver you are. For me, for example, I have a much easier time with rear or mid-engine cars, so like the Porsche or the Audi, than with front-engine cars. And you can give them some slip angle and basically throw them into a turn, but you have to drive them very differently. As we see now with Mario, for example, in the hairpin, you have to basically complete the turn as fast as possible and get hard on the throttle early.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much down to if you are a driver who likes to let the car flow or roll through the turn, you are better off with the AMG or M4. If you like to be more aggressive with the car, push it hard into the turn, and have a quick drive out of it, as Mayo is on a very good run here. He's pretty much equal through Sector 1 and Sector 2 combined to Tim Schroeder.
3/10 up on his best at the minute.
But if you are... Remco Mayor can drive these cars, and he definitely shows. So, like, if you can push them this hard and you feel comfortable with it, those are your types of cars. Goes a bit wide, should be still a valid lap time, and he does improve, but it's not quite enough. It's 21 thousandths of a second between the three of them. Dominic Lala couldn't improve.
He's going to be annoyed about that last corner, I think.
Maybe, yes. As Alisa goes a bit wide. He's looking to improve his lap time. Porsche, of course, being a very... I don't want to say beginner-friendly car, because it sounds like it's an easy car to drive, even though it's not really. But it's, of course... A Porsche is understeering no matter what you do. So yes. Completes his final lap. Charlotte also going wide. He's unfortunately last in the grid. But there you have your final grid for the race. Tim Schroeder leading the field. Remco Mayer in second. Then we have 4 Porsches. Dominic Ladler in front of Wouter van Zandijk. Even slower, and Alisa and Joao Loreto in the back. But it will be very interesting on the start of the race. But the Porsche is the car with a very high skill level, or a very high skill ceiling. But I think a very low entry level. You can easily drive it, but being fast with it is a different challenge.
The skill cap always seems to be pretty much that way in other sims, and it's how easy it is for the beginners to drive seems to vary quite dramatically.
Yeah,
but I think everyone agrees that it's the driver's car when it comes to the ceiling of the skill.
And that's basically the characteristics of each car in that case. As the drivers now get ready to get on the grid for race number 1. Of course, it will be a rolling start again. And there we can see them. It's Tim Schroeder in front of Remco Major, row number 1. And then we have Dominik Ladler alongside Van Sandijk.
Zahir and Loretto dragging a little bit behind.
And we go green for the final time in Season 1 here at Hockenheim. It's a good start from our leading pack. It's a bit closer behind between the 2 Porsches. Oh, and that's Loretto around. And Loretto spins out of turn 1, bit hard on the throttle. But up front, it's Remco Major having a look down the inside of Schroeder. And actually, the number 5 Porsche getting past number 6 Porsche, but going wide.
Yeah, it was
And
good,
that was
clean
Ali
start.
Zaha, yeah, indeed. Oh, but up front, it's side by side between the 2 Dutchmen. It's Tim Schroeder around the outside, trying to defend his P1. Remco Major braking hard. Can he keep it around the outside to get the inside for Mercedes?
I think he's just about done it before the big right-hander that's coming up.
That was a very strong move there by Remco Major. But Tim Schroeder up, having a look down the inside.
Ooh.
Cheeky. I'd call that.
He was maybe trying to force Remco to go a bit defensive, but he held his line, he held his nerve.
But so far, clean moves. Even slower seems to have hit a few issues because he's dropped down the order. But it's Audi from BMW from Porsche.
Yeah, Ladler's just about keeping contention with the front 2 at the minute, and there's a bit more of a gap to Van der Stig and Zahir. Loretto's a bit dropped off the back there after his initial spin. But there's a long way to go in the race yet. We've got 28 minutes, so he's got a chance to catch up.
Indeed, everything's pretty much open here for everyone. Even though Remco Major is starting off strong in this race with a very good pace. Tim Schroeder, I think he can match him on pace once he gets into his rhythm now. Now in the slipstream gaining quite a lot.
Yeah, he's just set a purple first sector, Tim Schroeder, so he's definitely not giving up just yet.
But you can see how close these cars actually are on performance. Can fight in pretty much everything as Tim Schroeder goes a bit deep and loses a bit of time there in the Mercedes Arena section.
Bit tidier through that corner than Remco, though.
I think Lala has a good perspective here to watch the race unfold. Don't think he's really trying to get past in that moment. He's just waiting and having fun, I guess.
As far as, like you said earlier on, as far as the championship's concerned, he doesn't need to get past, but they are all sim races after all, and I'm sure he will want to make a move at some point if he stays in contention. But right now he seems content to just let Tim Schroeder and Remco Major have a bit of a fight ahead of him.
Remco seems to be very strong in like the more technical sections, so sector 3 basically.
Yes. Yeah, I detest sector 3 on Hockenheim. I lose time hand over fist on that part. But he seems to have got his Audi dialed in a lot better than I do with my M4.
But they do have dropped Van Sandijk, but he has a good gap to Alizar behind Joao Loreto. But But Ladler is getting closer to the two in front as well. They can
Yeah,
also see different lines taken by all the 3 different cars or 3 different drivers.
Yeah, this battle at the front's definitely not opening up, is it? It's staying about the same. It's changing a bit depending on the point they are on the circuit, but the gaps kind of overall seem to be kind of maintaining.
I do think it's nice to see how different they actually drive, and that's not just the same. Everybody uses different skills to get where they are.
Yeah, and we've got a mid-engine, a front engine, and a rear engine car here to compare, which is always nice as commentary.
Can guarantee, and then there are people complaining about BOP. So I don't think we have much to complain about today. Because even though we don't have as many cars as last time in Monza, for example, I think we can still have a great race here. And it will be close for the win.
It's always good when you've got 3 people so close together in pace at the front. You don't need a lot of people to make an exciting race, and I'm sure these guys are going to prove it as the race goes on. Just as long as you're near the pace of the people near you, that's all that really matters.
And Tim Schreider is getting closer to Remco Meyer. It's only 5 to 6 tenths now. Goes a bit now again, so it's always a back and forth, but I think overall Tim Schreider is being a bit faster than Remco Meyer right now.
He's set his own personal best in Sector 1. He's set a purple Sector 2, so he's definitely picking up some pace from somewhere. He's going a lot faster than his personal best right now. He's 8 tenths up.
So already enter lap number 5.
Tim Schreider, it invalidated, but it was a 37.9 in the last lap, which is fractionally quicker than Remco's going. Yeah. Remco's last lap was a 38 dead. Dominic Ladler did a 38.4, so...
Yeah, Ladler really trying, or seemingly falling off right now, but as soon as Schreider and Meyer start fighting, they will probably lose quite a bit of time for him to catch back up. No doubt.
At the minute, Mayer's not had to do much in the way of defensive driving, so the pace has been good, but as soon as he has to start compromising his lines, that can change pretty quickly, and 2 seconds is not a big gap to make up.
Of course, if you want to keep track of everything that's happening right now in this race, and actually being a bit more live than the actual live stream because of delays in the live stream to Twitch, you can always check out the egg. I don't know why I should check out an egg, but you can check out the app, the RENNSPORT app. You can check live timings if you go to leagues, and then this league race you will find it under live races, and you can see the distances, car positions, and all that kind of stuff for yourself. Also check out the drivers.
Already flashing his lights. He's trying to distract Mayo as much as he can, but I don't think he's going to fall for it.
I don't think you can distract him. And I mean, it's just so typical Tim Schreider at this stage. So like, using the flasher extensively is something that we are quite used to seeing from him. But against the Remco Meyer, that is basically drop of water on a hot stone, which is a weird translation for a German saying thing.
It makes sense in English, I think.
I guess so.
It's not something we say, but it makes sense. I can understand what you mean. Oh, Tim Schreider going for a move here. No.
Taking out of it. But Remco Meyer had to go in a bit wide there. So it did have an effect on his fellow Dutchman.
Like you were saying earlier about the mid-engine cars, he probably wants to make that hairpin a bit more of a V than Tim Schroeder's letting him do at the minute. He's got to kind of roll into it a bit more.
Knowing your opponent is a very good thing in sim racing, like general competition. Meanwhile, Joao Loito has moved up into 5th past Alizar.
Yeah, Alizar's dropped quite a way back, so I'm assuming he had a bit of an off-track excursion at some point. Dominic Laddler dropping back a bit again. He's about 3 seconds back, whereas it was about 2 before, so he's probably hoping the Schroeder-Mayor fight starts really kicking off in the next few minutes.
I think once we might have driver swaps and team races in the far future, I think a Tim Schroeder Remco Mayor combination could be quite lethal, having them both in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should have a pro and am section to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, I think Tim should still count as an am in that case, but
I don't think he can be classed as an am anymore.
Yeah, that's true. With the amount of victories. But they would be both on and off the track quite hard to fight against. I mean, imagine having to defend against them in the race and then having to cope with them in the Discord as well. That would be quite the feat.
Schroeder's set another purple first sector. He's got green second sector, so he's not green third sector. So he's definitely not giving up.
Joachim Thunder asking me to not say lethal. I don't see the problem with that.
The gap between first and second does seem to be slightly opening up. It's more towards the 0.9 second mark now, whereas it was more kind of 0.6, 0.7 before.
It just
not
fell,
a big difference.
Yeah, it fell back to basically where we were 4 laps ago. But of course, if you get closer to the car in front, you get more dirty air through the corners as well. Tire heat builds up in the front. You lose a bit of time. That's a bit tricky, even though GT3s don't have the amount of downforce that, for example, high-level single-seaters have. It's still a very noticeable effect. And in this case, the pace difference between the two cars just isn't big enough.
And of course, spamming the headlight flasher must really sap your concentration.
I mean, flashing a light does create heat, and maybe that also... I mean, it has to dissipate somewhere, so it doesn't help cooling down, I guess. Even though it might only be very minute, but it's already come back down to 7 to 8 tenths now instead of 8 to 9.
Schroeder does seem to be good in the first part of Sector 3, or he does seem to close up.
But he's now again so close, only 6 tenths between the two of them. That's a good distance to really get into the toy effect. If you can get a good run out of turn 2 here, onto the parabolic car, maybe we can see move, but Remco had a good run, so it will be a bit tough for Schroeder to get close.
Schroeder's not had the best exit, but it's definitely not bad. He always seems to be catching up a little bit now where the toe's kicking in.
But he was able to use the slipstream to his advantage in the case to keep it close and to be again in a good range for Mercedes. I mean, he won't be close enough for a move, but if he can stick it close and do what you said before with being good in the Motodrome, basically, the first part of Sector 3. Maybe he has a chance on the next lap. Oh, but a big oversteer moment there.
He ran very wide in that corner.
Basically back to 0 now. I do think Remco Major would have had a way harder time if he hadn't passed Tim Schroeder in the opening lap.
Yes. Yeah. Tim Schroeder definitely seemed to have really good pace in qualifying. And I think getting past, like, it's the kind of racing adage of it's easy to catch someone. Getting past them is another story altogether. Remco's definitely got the knowledge of blocking and when to block, and he's got the experience.
You know, I'm a bit curious. If you watch the taillights of Tim Schroeder while especially exiting but also mid-turning, you see them flash up for short periods of time here and there. And I didn't notice it on any other car so far, only on his.
Okay.
Is it maybe a driving technique? I mean, I will ask him later on, because maybe it isn't, and it just, maybe the pedals he's using, they do get a bit loose or something like that.
Yeah.
Especially if he's on a Logitech, that might well be the case. But maybe it's also a driving technique that only a very small amount of people actually can use or do use. And that's applying brake in the turn to get the car rotated.
Yeah, it's almost like very extended. Flipping heck, I've forgotten what you call it now. Where you brake through a corner. What do you call it?
Trail braking?
Failing. Trail braking, yes. Is he just doing a little extra bit at the end to transfer the weight forward and help rotate the back end?
I mean, if he really does that, then heads up, because I only know of one guy in the sim racing world who's really doing it, and he's one of the fastest over in Gran Turismo, Super GT, for those who know him. And
Super GT not having such a good day today. He was he at the Nürburgring 24-hour. He was racing with Jimmy Broadbent and Misha in the 150 car, and he sped in a Code 60 yesterday and got disqualified, and his ring license taken away.
Oh well, that's not so good. But apart from that, he has this driving technique, and it's insanely fast, because you basically get extra rotation through the turn that other people just don't. But Remco already found his pace, and Tim Schroeder just dropped off a bit, because the gap is now 1.3 seconds. But we also have a lapped car now coming up soon. And also welcome KHX-HSCP to the stream. And I would hope to see you in the next competition, maybe in Season 2. You can actually take the time after this lapping maneuver to talk about, because there's some very interesting stuff in there.
Oh, he's getting well out of the way. He's not taking part in this battle for the lead. So here, pulling over and saying, "Get on with it, guys."
Dominic Lada using his flashlights for the first time this race, I guess. But Tim Schroeder gained 3/10 again on Ryan Coyo. Oh, and very close to contact there between Ladla and Alizaya. That was a bit very aggressive. I think he's Lithuanian, if I see that correctly. Which is very nice to see people from up there as well. But it was a tad aggressive, lost him quite an amount of time. But talking about the next schedule, we have something to show you. And this is Community League Season 2 starting in 2 weeks at Spa of course, there will also soon be the 24-hour Spa-Francorchamps race in real life, so kick the season off at Spa. Then go over to America for Road Atlanta and Daytona, back to back. And then head over to Asia, to Orchard Road and Fuji. Final race will be in Monza, and we've seen a lot of action last time in Monza. Won by Tim Schroeder as well, so maybe he will look forward to that.
I appreciate Monza from a racing perspective. I just hate driving it. I don't know why.
Well, everybody got those tracks, I guess. So I'm also not big on driving it, but it's just like such a historic and great circuit. And good question whether around at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout will be. It would be a bit we will have an increased race length to 45 minutes, if I remember that correctly right now. So the races will be a tad longer.
Yeah.
But of course, Nordschleife, you all know it will come at some point. And again, those braking lights flashing up on Tim Schroeder's car, that's a bit weird. Might still be down to the pedal.
Maybe he's just resting his foot on the pedal a little bit, and it's not enough to brake, but it's foot enough. I know I do that sometimes.
Could well be. But he's so close now to my 4/10 between the two of them. Goes a bit wide though. He has to watch out to not get a 5-second penalty again, as he did in the RWL race last time.
Yeah.
Didn't really matter in that case, but in this case it would really matter.
Okay, but yeah. Yeah, he'd definitely be kicking himself if he got a 5-second penalty in this one.
But talking about next season, there will also be damage enabled. So it will be the first RCL season with damage. And of course the increased race length leading to pit stops. So you can, or actually have to do pit stops. Which will be very interesting.
You know, I'm a fan of a race with pit stops and damage enabled, so that's all good with me.
Oh, and look at how close Tim Schroeder is here, only 3/10. Did have a good enough exit, I say, and Remco already driving to the inside of the Parabolica. Shorten his line as much as possible. But now the slipstream effect comes in big time for Tim Schroeder. Which way does he want to go? He goes to the inside, Remco also covering that inside. Leads to Tim Schroeder taking the outside line again and trying the undercut. Didn't
it was a good move by Mayo there, because it wasn't a full defensive line, but so it still allowed him a decent run through the corner. Whereas Tim Schroeder was a bit more undecided about whether to go inside or outside, and he tried to do the old switcheroo, but it didn't work.
Yeah, Mayo really made that small Audi super big. But he's still right behind Mayor, still flashing his headlights.
See the lights going.
And there's still 7 minutes to go in this race. Who will take victory here in the final race of Season 1? It was Shigani in the first race here at Hockenheim.
Gap back to Ladler is a bit bigger now, but with these two fighting, I'm sure it'll start to close up pretty quickly. I can't see Tim Schroeder getting past Remco Mayor anytime soon, unless he makes a mistake.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
both be watching Ladler creeping closer.
Well, that's a valid argument as well from Joachim Thunder in chat. But here comes Tim Schroeder to the outside, Remco Mayor to the inside. Slides a bit wide, blocks off the inside, so Tim Schroeder can't do the cutback. Can he get another run down to Mercedes? He's in the slipstream. He's in proximity to do something. Remco Mayor to the inside. And again, Tim Schroeder just can't find his way through a bit of contact there, front to rear. And you can't even put a slip of paper between the two of them. Tim Schroeder having a look down the inside, entering Motodrome. Oh!
It's a brave man's overtaking corner.
Remco Major got a little bit loose there as well. I'm not sure if there was contact. Do you see?
I didn't see any contact, to be honest. I think he just ran a little bit wide. Maybe all that light flashing is finally getting to him.
Or maybe that big BMW. Oh, and Remco Major with a big slide there. And Tim Schroeder going down the inside, taking the lead away from Remco Major. And that's exactly what you were talking about. It took a mistake from Major, and now he has to struggle with his tires, I think.
Yeah, I think after that turn into Mercedes, I think we'll just after Mercedes, where he ran a little bit wide, it probably warmed his tyres up a bit more than he was expecting.
Alizar was in the pits for this race, which is also a bit interesting to see.
But now the tables are turned. Let's see if Major can stick with Schroeder.
Braking very late, aggressive. Oh, and that's front to rear contact between the two of them. Didn't really move a muscle on that M4 GT3 though.
It's big compared to the Audi, isn't it? When you see them side by side.
It really is big. Oh, but around the outside Remco Major now. Of course now has the inside line, but it is a bit compromised through this right-hander. Can Schroeder hold it around the outside? It's great racing between the two of them. A lot of respect. But Schroeder keeps the lead.
A little bit of door banging, but they seem they're being good about it, aren't they?
And look at Lala already gained 1.3 seconds on the two of them in the last lap.
Yeah, he's definitely the winner of all the fighting that's going on. That and us, I suppose.
I think these two will have a lot of fun on the track in the future.
Yeah, Tim Schroeder's definitely quickly built up his skill level.
Tim didn't have the best exit. Where will he go? Remco Major to the outside of the hairpin.
Defending.
Not giving each other an inch there, even though Tim Schroeder now leaves a lot of space around the outside. Can Remco Major hang it around the outside? It was well made by Tim Schroeder as well. He basically does what Remco Major does to him the laps before.
Yeah, well, Remco just got ahead coming into the hairpin, but being stuck on the outside, he couldn't do anything with it. Oh, Schroeder runs a little wide.
Look at how much Remco Major is sliding around already. They have 2 laps left after this one.
Yeah, this isn't going to be doing his tyres any good. And Dominic Ladler is 4.5 seconds back now, so he's creeping up on them.
I mean, the last thing the two want is contact, I guess, at this stage, because it would give Ladler the win, but with the fights there, there's like 5 more overtaking opportunities over the next 2 laps. So Remco Major this time wants a bit wide. Coming back to Joachim Thunder's tactical off-tracks that he established earlier in the stream.
He has plenty of incident points, he might as well use them.
Well, that's pretty much how they do it in the higher level GT and Formula Racing leagues.
He's very close behind coming through Parabolica again, but Tim Schroeder is sticking way over to the right.
Oh, Remco Major
is very clear.
Remco Major was faking it to the inside though, decided to go for the outside then. Can he do an undercut? Not quite, but he's now again in the slipstream. Oh, and around the outside, Remco Major with a bit more traction maybe. Can keep it around the outside, now to the inside. Tim Schroeder has defended around the outside multiple times. He goes a bit wide though.
Oh, wide.
Very wide. I mean, I'm not sure about that. He basically kept the position by going off the track. Was he forced wide? That's a bit
I don't think he was forced wide, but without any kind of live stewarding, which is definitely not on the cards right now, you can get away with moves like that, which is a bit cheeky.
I'm telling you, if this doesn't change in terms of how these two race each other, that will end in a photo finish. We've seen Remcomer drifting through the final turn, but just keeping up the pace. He will never lift off. Never.
Definitely an exciting battle for first and second. Got a few more attempts coming up, but he's going to have to really put on his big boy pants and go for it.
Tim Schroeder again to the inside. Oh, and keeps him pinched to the inside. And Remco Major, I think he has him. I think Remco Major has passed Tim Schroeder.
It was a good move.
Now can he keep it in front, or will Tim Schroeder fight back into the Mercedes arena? Seems like he's good though. Both won a bit wide here, but...
They're catching up with Loretto as well, which is an untimely catch-up.
See the blue flags being waved there for Loretto.
Major getting a bit wide there, using as much of the track as he can. And then a bit extra.
Unless he does a big mistake here, I think Remco Major has it. Comes out of the final turn. No big drift this time. And it's Remco Major taking victory in the final race of Season 1 in front of Tim Schroeder in what was an intense battle all across the race. But Dominik Ladler is our Season 1 champion. So big congratulations to him. That was well driven across the whole season. Of course, backed some victories here and there, but overall just consistency that won him the title. Van Sandijk, good P4 for him. I think he will be happy with that. And then there's Loretto and Alizar, who's now coming through the final turn. Also happy to back some point. Loretto, of course, with this now taking 6th in the championship. It's very good.
It was definitely worth carrying on for him.
But what a race it was. What a finish it was.
It was a very exciting last couple of laps. Major and Schroeder definitely put on a show for the final.
Well, some people would probably call out for this being scripted, but it definitely wasn't. I can assure you that. These two, I think, if they find each other more often on the track in GT3 machinery, they will have a lot of great fights. And they are just so equal on pace at this stage. Of course, Remco Major is more experienced, and he definitely used this experience to his advantage today. But other than that, they're just so incredible drivers.
And Tim Schroeder's learning every race. You can see him getting more consistent and making smarter decisions with his racecraft. He's learning all the time.
Indeed. But yeah, this was basically it for Season 1. And we will go through the final standings in just a second. But before that, we can show you... I mean, we already told you what Season 2 will be. But we also, of course, have a trailer prepared for the next season. So enjoy this one, and we will be right back with you. Alright, that was Season 2, and congratulations to Jones for making it to the finish as well. That was the trailer for Season 2, and I'm really much looking forward to this, especially if we see more fights like this one today. It really was.
Yeah, it was an exciting race, and it was a close championship in the end as well, so it's always good to see people going all the way to the end of a championship and fighting and not giving up. It's heartwarming as an organizer.
Yep, talking about this championship, of course, Dominic Lada on just so nearly 800 points, but it's 799 points for him to take P1. Tim Schreider and Remco Meyer both move up into the podium positions, relegating Timothy Fridge and Joachim Thunder to 4th and 5th, who are both on 469 points. But Remco Meyer actually needed that win to get onto the podium, because otherwise it wouldn't have been quite enough for him, because he's only 5 points ahead of the two Germans. Gok Polassa actually kept 6th place, because Loreto only gained a couple to few points for that position. He's on 220 to 226. And well, a virtual podium celebration. That might well be something that we need to do for next time. But yeah, that's your final standings. And do you want to add something to the whole season? You've been on with us for, I think, the last 2 races.
So yeah, I've been on with you for a couple. I did a few. If you look way back in the point standings, I was 31st with 36 points.
There he is, indeed.
But no, it's been a good race series. Thank you for putting it on. And hopefully season 2 will be just as exciting.
Yeah, and with all that said, I think it's time for us to say goodbye for today, for the season. Yeah, you have an overlook for the next season before we go. And of course, next week we will be back with the RENNSPORT community events, with a multi-class event at Spa, which will be very exciting. And other than that, I really sure hope you did enjoy this race, this season. And we see you next time. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.